Hello, everyone. How are you guys all doing today? Let me just double check here that we're live because I always got to do that. For some reason, my computer's being slow. I hope that is not because of my internet connection. Okay, there I am. We can get started now. Okay, so third day, you've got we're right in the middle of the week. We've got 3 days left. Friday at midnight, cart's going to close. You won't be able to enroll in the puppy and adult classes. Remember how important this is. And that's going to be the topic today for your tips and tricks. When I was a brand new puppy mom, we actually got an adult dog. And he was a great dog. I mean, I absolutely loved him. His name was Cleveland. He was very protective of me. He's a part Shar-Pei. He's still alive. He's really, really old right now. But the one thing that I learned through owning him and that I learned from him is that you really, really need training. And you can take your dog to a run-of-the-mill trainer. You can take them to Petco or wherever, whatever pet store you have local, whatever training company you have locally. But when you do that, you may be training them for the behaviors and things like that, which is great. I'm not knocking those programs in any way, shape, or form. So don't get me wrong about that, because they're great and they're absolutely necessary. They really are. However, the issue with them is the long term. What is going to happen tomorrow when they've taught you how to teach your dog to sit, or they've taught your dog to sit for you, and then you get home and suddenly you can't get your dog to sit? Or your dog is running across a highway or toward a highway and you can't get him to stop. And it becomes a life or death kind of situation. You can't just call Petco and say, oh my gosh, this is the worst possible scenario and it just happened to me. What do I do? I guess you could. I don't know how responsive they would be. I don't know how good their information is. The classes that I have taken are so in depth into dog behavior that we can pretty much diagnose a problem together and get it fixed so easily, so quickly. And 99% of dog incidents, as far as biting, nipping, growling, barking, and things like that, are actually non-events. They're not even an actual issue at the time they happen the first time, maybe even not the second time, or the third time, or the fourth time. But the fifth or sixth time, or a year down the road, it's going to come up. It's going to become an issue. If you don't stop it and correct it now, then in a year, you're going to have a dog that can't be around people, that can't be around other dogs, that can't be around your kids, things like that. We all want companion dogs, right? I'm not here to teach you how to train your dog to show him or her, or to do agility courses or anything like that. That's not what I'm here for. So I want to make that absolutely 100% clear as well. I don't know the rules of being a show dog or being an agility dog. English is hard again today, even without the kids. So sorry about that. So I don't know any of those rules. And quite frankly, the ones that I do know make no sense to me at all whatsoever. It's like in football, there's some rules and stuff that I don't get it. I don't understand. They're there, right? So, but there are rules that make sense to me for a companion dog. For example, socializing them. It's a must. We just have to do it, because if we don't, there's going to be dire consequences later on in their life. And that's our fault. It's all our fault. we have not taken the time out of our busy days, out of our lives, to really give this dog the best that they could possibly have and give them the best opportunity at a great life that they could possibly have. And that is sad. That's sad to me. When I see that happen, when I hear about all the dogs that are in shelters and there's no reason for them to be. And, you know, we're adopting dogs out and we're putting dogs down for all the wrong reasons, actually. Dogs, when they do a temperament test, what they do is basically they, you know, instigate a problem with the dog. They put it under a lot of stimulus and stress to try and get the dog to react. Well, then as soon as the dog reacts, they say, oh, this is a vicious dog, you know, he needs to be put down. But that's not always the case. In fact, it's very rarely the case. The way the dog reacts is the test. So it's not, or is the answer, not that they did react. Dogs are going to react. If you poke a dog or you play with his ears enough, or you know, you stick something up his nose to, you know, like they do the swabs for the influenza test or whatever in our noses. Oh my gosh, that is like the second worst test ever on the face of the planet. It's the second worst. The first worst is a strep test when they stick the Q-tip down your throat, you know, but these are all kinds of things that we have to deal with as humans, right? But we can say, oh, that's a doctor. They're going to do this. It's going to be over. With the dog, they're sticking a needle in their arm and they don't know that it's ever going to be over. You know, you can say, oh, it's okay, and calm them down and stuff. But if they don't ever react, you don't know how good their reaction is. So when they do react, because they will, when they do react and you don't get hurt, you've got a great dog. And so many shelter dogs are given up because they reacted, but they didn't hurt anyone, you know? And it really, really makes me very, very sad. And I don't understand. I understand the thinking behind it. When you have a kid in the house and the dog nipped at the child and all of that kind of stuff, I understand that. Or when you actually do truly have a vicious or an aggressive dog that's mauling people or, you know, really hurting other animals in your house and things like that. It's completely understandable. And I would agree, give that dog up. It may end up having to be put to sleep because it's just too dangerous or whatever the case may be. But we've got to start getting this mindset shift from automatically saying a dog is aggressive because they reacted. If I went up to somebody, just a total stranger, and I just kept poking them in the forehead over and over and over and over again, if I didn't get punched for that, I would be shocked, right? But I would not in any way, shape, or form say that that other person is vicious and needs to be put down. Right? Because they reacted to something that I was doing that was really annoying, probably hurt, and there was no reason for it, right? So we have to shift our mindset to think objectively and to really quantify behaviors, okay? Now, how we do that, it's really, really easy when they're a puppy. And that's why this Puppy One class is so important. I cannot stress the importance of it because your puppy's success is your success too, right? So when your puppy is well trained, then you feel better about your dog. You feel better about this animal that's living in your house, being around your kids, being around your family members, being around strangers when they walk in the door, right? So their success is your success. Their success is your comfort. You know then that you have trained them, that they're great dogs, that they have great bite inhibition, that they're not going to kill someone. And if they do react, They know not to bite too hard, right? But it takes a team, just like in business. And I didn't want to believe this for a very, very long time. Actually, I thought that you could be an entrepreneur and do it all yourself. And you didn't need a coach, you didn't need a team, you didn't need anybody to help you with anything. And my coach, my internet marketing coach, proved me wrong on that, because I was stuck for a very, very long time. And she opened my eyes to problems that I was having in my business that there is no way I would have seen it in the next 3 years. And it took a little bit of money. I paid her, and I pay for a program every month. And I invested that into myself and into my business. And now I'm where I'm at, but I wouldn't be here if I didn't have that help. Training your dog is the same way. And actually, my marketing coach has a dog trainer as well. She has a pit bull, and her pit bull was dog reactive, and she hired a trainer, a dog trainer for her dog, because it was getting to the point that she really needed that. And what my argument is even if your dog isn't dog reactive, even if your dog loves everyone or seems to love everything, is so friendly, and you are 100% confident that they are never going to bite someone, you still need a trainer. You still need someone to walk with you, beside you, to help you see any issues that you may not see. And here is why, okay? When we have a child or a dog, we love them, right? We love them with all our hearts. I could never leave my dogs. My dogs need to be beside me because I love them that much. I care about them that much. And no one on this earth could take as good a care of them as I do, right? Beyond that, my daughter is extremely attached to them. I wouldn't leave her behind either. They are siblings, so to speak, but they're all my kids, and I treat them all like they're my children because they are, and I love them that much. So because I love them that much, there may be a couple of times when they're doing something wrong and it just kind of slides through because, it's just a phase. She'll get over it. Or, she's just being a teenager. She'll be fine once she, hits 18. She'll be okay. It's okay that they didn't do the dishes right now or today. They'll do them tomorrow. We are emotionally invested in our dogs to the point that we're blind. And I know that is probably a very hard thing for people to hear. It was a very hard thing for me to hear, especially about my children, my human children. I'm emotionally invested. I'm emotionally drained when they're sad. My day goes like that because, it's like we wake up, oh, I'm so happy to see you. And then it's like, oh, I'm emotionally drained because they gave me an attitude, and then it's like happy again. They went to school and then they come home from school and I'm like, yay. So our emotions are on a roller coaster every single day with our human children, with our dog children, with our cat children, with our hamsters, gerbils, whatever animal, whatever pet you have, you get emotionally attached. And when you get emotionally attached, let's say, for example, Sissy, when she lunged at that guy, she did not make contact with her teeth on his skin, okay? So that shows great bite inhibition, right? So she has an amazing ability to not hurt someone, but to make them back off without hurting them. It's a great dog, right? But in that moment, at that time, and for about 2 hours afterwards, I was like, ooh, I was emotionally invested in that situation because at that time, my dog is vicious and she's going to be put down, right? And if you looked at the handouts that I posted yesterday, you'll see there is, and I didn't print it out, it's on my computer, but I didn't print it out, of course. You will see there is let me pull it up. There is 1 through 6. It's called Objective Bite Assessment. And you'll see levels 1, 2, and 3 are, fairly, low on the bite scale totem pole, I guess you could say. The higher number, the worse the attack or the worse the bite or whatever. 99% of bites fall into category 1 or 2 or level 1 or 2. Okay, so only 1% of bites are levels 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right. We don't ever want our dogs to get to a level 3 bite. So we want to stop that and prevent that from happening. And we want to train them to have good biting habits, and know the power of their jaws, and especially pit bulls. They are very strong. They're not the strongest jaws out there as far as dogs are concerned, but they are very strong, and they do have a pretty bad rap when it comes to that. But we can actually get them where we know for a fact there will never be a level 4. And if there's a level 3, it's a really shocking circumstance. Okay. I was taking another class, and yesterday one of the stories that he was telling was about this, oh my gosh, I can't even remember, Rottweilers. They were Rottweilers, and this lady had a kennel, and because she bred Rottweilers, and she had like 10 Rotties, and she left her 10-year-old daughter and 2-year-old son at the kennel to take care of the dogs while she went off with her husband or went to dinner or something like that. I can't remember exactly. Anyway, so the 10-year-old thought it would be a good idea to let all of the dogs out of their kennels, stuff the 2-year-old in a tire, and roll the 2-year-old in the tire down the hill. Of course, what are these Rottweilers going to do? They're going to chase that tire and bite at it all the way down the hill, right? But none of the bites were anything more than a little scratch or a surface wound. And that was it. None of the dogs actually caused any kind of significant injury that needed anything more than a little bit of antibiotic ointment on it. He didn't even have to go to the doctor. There were people that were demanding that these Rottweilers be put down because, they bit a kid. And, normally I would say, yeah, I mean, if there's a severe enough case, yeah, I would agree. Euthanasia is probably the best. However, how can you proof against that? How can you, as a trainer or as a homeowner or as anyone else, I mean, to be honest, that kennel lady, she was stupid. That was very, very, very ignorant on her part to do that. She should not have. You should never leave your children alone with your dogs like that. That's just ridiculous. I mean, I trust my dogs around my teenage children, but I would not leave my 5-year-old niece around them by herself without being supervised. And that's just as much for her protection as it is for my dog's protection, and she's not mature enough to handle them by herself. I've seen her give them treats, and she will empty a 1-pound bag of treats in one sitting. So, they're going to end up with some really upset stomachs for sure. They're not going to bite her or anything like that, but things can happen. And so you don't want to leave your kids in charge of 10 Rottweilers, no matter how well trained they are. So that was very stupid on her part. But how did the Rottweilers react? They didn't run off the property, first of all. They stayed there. They stayed with the kids in the kennel area. They didn't attack either one of these two kids, and they barely made any marks on the little 2-year-old as he was going flying down a hill. Okay, so they had obviously been proofed over and over and over again so well with children, over and over, and tested and tested and tested. And those dogs had the absolute, that case is the worst possible training scenario on the face of the planet. I mean, I cannot think of a worse or a better temperament test for dogs than that one, to be honest. I mean, because if you throw something, dogs generally chase it. Ours don't. I don't know why, but they don't run after the ball. If it's rolling across the floor, yeah, they'll go, but they don't run like long distances chasing after a ball. But you can't proof against that. But what you can proof for is testing with children. And she obviously had done that, because if she hadn't, that child would have been hurt really bad in that case. And so you can't think of every single situation. I can't think of every single situation, but I do have extra levels of training that can get you to the point that you are 100% comfortable that your dog's not ever going to bite anybody. And I can get you there quickly, easily, and without spending hours and hours and hours and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. I don't want to drain your bank accounts. I really don't, because I think training should be fast, easy, and affordable. And, you know, I do have to charge. I'm sorry, I wish I didn't, but I do. So, you know, you just have to think about the long-term cost of what it could cost you down the road if your dog really did hurt somebody and you have to pay their medical bills, versus training them now and having an ongoing dog coach. Because you can join my monthly program and I'm in there and you get all the tips and tricks and stuff like that. I just don't walk you through every day. You know, the courses or the classes are 6 weeks long of an absolute intense training. Every single week is a really intense training session. And that's the only way it's fair to you for the money that you're paying. And that's the only way it's fair to the dog for the money that you're paying. I don't want you to go to Petco and rely on their 2 classes that you're going to take, a puppy socialization class and an obedience training class. And I don't even know if it's only 2 classes that they offer, but I don't want you to have to rely on that and then not have a trainer that's backing you, that's behind you every single step of the way, every single day if needed, once a week if needed, whatever. You join my monthly program. If you get into my Puppy 1 or my Adult 1 class this week by Friday at midnight Central Standard Time, you automatically get 50% off of my monthly training group for an entire year. Okay. So I really do want to be able to walk with you through the ownership of your dog. I mean, because there's going to come a point, if you have a puppy right now, that's 12 to 18 weeks, you go into Puppy 1 class, you graduate from Puppy 1, let's say you go ahead and do Puppy 2 class, which we'll be launching here in a couple months. You go into Puppy 2 class, you graduate from Puppy 2, you take Adult 1, you take Adult 2. Then what? Then you've still got you've got huge gaps of time in between each of these training classes or courses, however you want to categorize it. It's like a training course, I guess, an intensive. You've still got gaps of time in there that you may have questions. You may have concerns. You may have a better way of doing something and you want to share that with somebody. You know, you still want and need that interaction, that back and forth, that problem solving, that, you know, ability to ask questions when You need to ask questions, not when you go to the next class. And that's what I really, 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 really want for you guys. And that's what I want for all the dogs in the entire United States, because until every dog is trained, there are still going to be dogs in shelters. And until every dog is out of the shelters, my job's not done. So think about this. Your puppy success means your peace of mind, but your puppy success is not a single person doing it. It takes a team. It's a team effort. So you need yourself, you need your husband or your wife, you need your kids on board, your mother-in-law if she comes over every couple of days. You know, you need all of these people, but then you need somebody who knows how to do the things, and that's me. Add me to your team, and your team's going to be that much stronger, because I can teach every single one of you guys, or I can teach you how to do it, and you can teach everybody else. And then they start giving you lip, say, hey, that's what the trainer said to do. Now, do you want to join me for the next class, or do you just want to do it the way I told you to? That's the way I do it with my kids. I'm like, no, your doctor said you need to go to bed at 8. That's what we're doing. You're going to bed at 8. I mean, when they were much younger, now they're 14 and 15, but you get the idea. You know, so we can either do it the right way, or we can do it the lazy way. And the right way is not that much extra effort. On the front end, yes, it's going to take a little bit of extra time on the front end to get everything set up, to get you in the right frame of mind, to get you out of old habits. If you previously trained your dog with a bait pouch on, for example, I don't encourage you to have a bait pouch, because I don't like treats for training on an ongoing basis. I use a lot of treats in my training because I do a lot of demonstrations, but I can still tell Sissy or Fennel to sit without a treat in my hand, and they will sit. And that's where you need to, the place that you want your dog to be at the end of the 6-week course, that whichever one you take first, the puppy one or the adult one, and then you get a new puppy, you come in and you put them in puppy 1 too, because we're going to walk you through each dog individually, because each dog is an individual. So when you have one puppy who is really, really outgoing, and you're like, oh yeah, this dog is easy to socialize, and we go through puppy class with that dog. So easy, piece of cake. That dog does everything you ask him to the first time. So great, right? Then you get another puppy maybe 2 years down the road, and this puppy is so stubborn that he will not sit for anything. And he's out there bullying all the other dogs or all the other puppies that he meets. Completely different set of challenges there. Completely different way of thinking about your training, you know? And so that's why this is so important. It's not so many trainers out there. It's a one and done. They say, this is how you train your dog to sit. Pay me $50. This is how you train your dog to off. Pay me $25. This is how you train your dog to walk nicely on a leash. Now that one I get $100 for. You get all of that for $300 for a 6-week course for $300, and then you get the monthly membership. After that, you get the monthly membership for half price. And I think it's $18.50 is the half price, because it's normally $37, but if you enroll in Puppy 1 or Adult 1 classes, you get it for 50% off for an entire year. So you have me there, boom, as part of your team for an entire year after you've finished that class, okay? And to me, it's a really great deal, because I'm pouring my heart and soul into these programs for you guys, because I want to see you succeed. I want to see the joy that it brings on your face to have a dog that does everything you ask them to the first time. The first time I was able to get Layla, the very first pit bull I ever owned, the first time I was able to get her to sit without a food treat, without any extra commands, and I just said, Layla, sit, and she sat the first time, oh my gosh, I felt like I had died and gone to heaven, because I had a dog that listens better than my kids do. It was a huge victory for me. Just that one simple thing was a huge victory for me. Now, I've got 2 dogs that do, sometimes they get excited. Don't get me wrong. When they're in the house, the rules are different and stuff. And we'll talk about that. How do you distinguish between I have to do this now, or I don't really need to do it now, I can do it when I want, kind of thing. So we'll be, distinguishing between the 2 voices that you should have, or 3 voices really that you should have. And I'll be training you how to use those different voices also, because when I say, hey, sis, come here. Hey, sissy, love you. She'll come most of the time, but it's kind of like a moseying kind of come, But when I say, sissy, come, she's at my feet right away. And you can see, or you can hear the audible difference in my voice between those 2, And that's because when I need her to come immediately, I put an urgency and an authoritative tone behind my voice to get her to do that. So your puppy's success is your comfort, but it's a team effort. Okay. So don't forget that. We are going to learn how to socialize. We're going to learn to get your dog to be a social butterfly without being annoying. That's another thing. Sometimes when you over socialize a dog, they can kind of grow up to just want to play with everyone. And adult dogs don't usually like really playing a whole bunch. They will, but they don't really just like being walked up to and just played with automatically, right? So we need to, kind of be able to rein it in a little bit. The importance of the education part for you is, oh my gosh, it is mind-blowing how much behavioral science there is behind dog training. It is literally, my brain some days feels like it's going to explode taking these classes, because it's like, oh my gosh, they're coming out with new sciences and new technologies and new learning theories every single day for dog training. And it's like, how in the world do you keep up on that? Well, let me keep up on it, and I'll give that information to you, and I'll condense it down, and we'll just do it together. In a very short amount of time. It has taken me a long time to learn the information that I've learned so far, but it's not going to take you as long, because I know exactly how to get from point A to point B quickly, easily, and it's affordable. So we're going to learn bite inhibition. We're going to educate you on the general public and how you protect the general public from your dog and protect your dog from the general public, because that is an issue sometimes. Because if a kid sticks their hand through your fence, although you're not responsible if your dog bites that kid, if they stick their hand through the fence, that's your property, and that child should not have been on your property. It still feels awful. And that kid's parent could sue you and could try and get your dog to be put down because he bit your child or their child. So, we're going to go through all of that, because that is important. That's really, really important. Actually, that's probably a socialization, and that's part of socialization, is the number one thing. That is the number one thing I will always push from day one, that you get your puppy socialize. Even an adult dog, you can still socialize them. It's just done a little differently. We'll talk about how you pick a great puppy. If you want to buy from a breeder, I'm not going to judge you for it. Me personally, I will not buy from a breeder. I get my dogs from the shelters, but I still go through a similar process as far as picking my puppy is concerned, because I did get Layla when she was a puppy. I got almost like Cleveland. I got Fennel as a very, very young puppy, and Sissy was only 9 months old. So I want to go through my screening process of how you can pick a really good puppy and learn a little bit more about their history than you might have, that you may not even think to ask about. Nature versus nurture. There's a lesson. I don't know if I have it uploaded yet into the group, but in the private group, the monthly membership group, there's a lesson for how much does nature really matter? How much does environment really matter? So how much is their breeding playing a part into their behavior versus how much is their raising playing into their behavior? Because, you know, you can get a very, very awesome kid that is a millionaire that came from the poorest and worst conditions as a child. In the same way with puppies, you can get a puppy that came from the worst possible background and is an amazing dog. So how do we get that? You know, once they're born, we don't have the choice, or they don't have the choice to pick where they came from, you know? So we kind of sometimes have to just deal with the breeding as it was, so to speak. You know, looking at kind of how good of an idea is it to have different breeds in your household. Like, for example, I have a pit bull and a pit lab mix. So an American Pit Bull Terrier and then an APBT lab /lab. So what breeds are going to be okay with each other, you know, just generally overall things like that. We're going to talk a ton about reward-based training. I'm not a punishment type of person. I don't like punishing dogs for doing something wrong because I don't feel like they do it intentionally most of the time. Yeah, there's sometimes I walk out of the house and they poop right in front of the door. They're doing it because they're mad I walked out the door. But 99% of the time, they're not chewing up my high heels because they're mad at me. They're chewing up their high heels because I didn't do something properly, like leave them with a stuffed Kong, or, you know, leave them with their chew toy or their tug rope or something like that. So there's something that I can actually do better in those cases. And, you know, it's like, do we want to put our hands on our dogs in an aggressive way? I don't. And I don't want to teach you guys to do that either. But if you think about it, when you jerk the leash, when they're pulling, it's the same thing. It really is. So can purely positive training work? I don't believe so. I don't agree with that at all. I don't think it can work. I don't like the clicker. I tried it just to see what all of the fuss and hullabaloo was about and everything, and I didn't like it. It didn't get me the results as quickly as I wanted them to get me the results. It just didn't. So all or none reward training is an amazing method for adult dogs. So we'll be using that a lot in the adult class. But we're going to be using in puppy class, we're going to be using a technique called lure reward training, where we have food treats in our hands, and then we take that food treat out and they still follow our hands. And that's how we get the certain hand signals, you know, sit, down, stand, stuff like that. So lure reward training is awesome because it usually works on the first trial. So when you say sit and you do it right, your dog's going to sit. And there's very little room for mistakes with lure reward training. It's really awesome. It's a great concept, and it actually works. It really, really actually works. We're going to be using some shaping. Sometimes shaping takes a really long time. So those would be for long-term behaviors, something that you really want to work on long-term. And it's kind of hard to implement, but if we need to use it, we will. Depends on the situation. Like I said, this is geared towards each individual dog. So when you have a dog that needs shaping, we're going to use shaping. And if you have a dog that does not respond to food, we're going to get him or her to respond to food because we're going to empower that kibble. So we're going to work with what we've got and go from the point that you're at now to the point that you need to be. And that's just the way it is. I mean, you can't get a more customized training program than this. I'm just saying, unless you go somewhere in person and you spend thousands of dollars for a private trainer. We're going to learn about the basic training sequence. The basic training sequence, this is my super secret. Okay, it's not really super secret, but for me it is. To you guys it is. This is my super secret training method. Okay, it's a training sequence 1 2 3 4. Okay, 4 steps. That's it. 4 steps. You lure them, or you request them to do it, then you lure them to do it, they do it, then you reward them. That's lure reward training in 4 steps. So we'll be getting heavily into that, though. That's you do it over and over and over again, you're never going to forget it. I guarantee that. We're going to be phasing out the food. You're not going to be using by the 3rd week of puppy 1. Hang on, I think it's the 3rd week. Let me just double check. Yeah, by the 3rd week of puppy 1, you will no longer be using a lure. By the 2nd week of adult 1, you will no longer be using a lure. You will no longer be using food unless you're learning a new skill. Okay. Then we're going to talk about reinforcement. This is what I'm talking about as far as really needing someone to back you up long term. So when you're 6 months down the road and your reinforcement schedule has kind of gotten off kilter, and for some reason they're starting to kind of go backwards a little bit, I'm there to just kind of give you the bump and say, oh, nope, this is the way we need to get back on track, and just kind of help you get back on track and keep you on track and keep you accountable to doing what you're supposed to do. Because just like raising children, raising dogs and having them consistently listen to you, you constantly have to practice, right? So when you tell your kid to go do the dishes, if they don't do the dishes and there's no consequence, the next time that you ask them to do the dishes, they don't do the dishes, and then there is a consequence. That's called inconsistency, and we cannot afford to have inconsistency in our training and in our practice afterwards, because raising a dog is practice from day 1 to the day they pass or repass. So it's a constant thing. Just like doctors are always practicing, dog trainers are always practicing too. And dog owners are always practicing, okay? Yeah, we'll be talking a little bit about different tools and stuff like that, but not really very much, because I use the prong collar. You guys all, I would hope by now everybody knows that I use the prong collar on my dogs. That's the only real tool that I use, besides the leash and the slip collar to go with prong collar. But yeah, those are pretty much that's the only thing I use is the prong collar. And it's only because Sissy and Fennel are so high energy that they walk too fast for me. When they're just on their regular collar and regular leash, my kids take them out and they're fine. But for me, it doesn't work that way, because I'm not as fast and agile as my athletic children are. Used to be, not anymore. So we're going to be learning about how to recall them super fast, how to get undesirable behaviors to go away. We're going to learn about non-aversive punishment, which basically is, punishing them without the physical hitting or, leash jerk and things like that. And I hope that by the end of this week, I can convince every single one of you that lure reward training, although not purely positive, is the best way to go as far as training your dog. And I can take you through that. I can show you how to do it properly, how to implement it, how to teach a new skill using lure reward while still maintaining the old skills that you had, and not having to use lure reward for the old skills you had. So like you teach them sit, down, and stand. Those are the first 3 commands, obedience commands, that they need to learn. Once those are learned in 2 days or 2 weeks, they're learned, and you no longer have the lure in your hand, you can add in a 4th skill or a 4th behavior. Use a lure for only that 4th behavior, 4th skill, and these 3 are just still going to be, you just use your hand signals or your voice. Okay? So, I mean, if you guys need any proof that lure reward training works, let me know, and I can get you some testimonies of how the lure reward training works. I mean, it's scientifically based, and I mean, it works. I mean, with kids, it works. It does. Little kids, maybe not teenagers, because they know they know there's no food in your hand. But the little kids, it really works. Put a Skittle in your fingers and just go like this in front of your kid's face, and your little kid's face, and they will follow it with their eyes wide open, waiting for you to give that skill to them. I guarantee it. And so do dogs. Dogs do that. Even as adults, they do that. It doesn't work as well on adults, but that's where we get to the reward training, or all or none reward training. And we're going to quantify everything. So, I mean, I guarantee you that if you do what you're supposed to and you follow the program, you will see results. Now, I cannot guarantee you a specific result, but you will see an improvement in your dog's behavior. And if you do everything that you're supposed to do, and you do your homework every night or every day, you come to every single live meeting and all of that kind of stuff, all of it's online. You don't even have to leave your house. Although I would prefer if you had another dog with you while you're doing this, and then the both of you could, work together, because that does give an added level of distraction, so that, you could even go to the dog park and just stream from your phone during our live call. That would be fine as well. Actually, that'd probably be ideal. That'd be awesome. And then people are like, whoa, how are you training your dog to do that? And then they can join in, right? And so we're going to quantify everything for you. You will get a sheet at the beginning of the week. If you sign up before Friday, or when you sign up before Friday, you will get an introduction module that will be sent out to you, or opened up basically on Sunday, the 8th. And then we'll actually begin our first live class the week of the 15th. And the reason for that is because I need you guys to do your homework for 1 week, at least 1 week before we have our first class. So we have to kind of sign up at least a week ahead of time in order to get that 1 week's worth of homework done. And so we'll have our first live video conference call on the week of the 15th. And on the 8th, you will get your introduction module, which will give you the lesson plan for the week. It'll give you the syllabus. It'll give you the list of everything that you're going to need for the 6-week class, and all of that kind of stuff. Now, the first week that you're in the class, so from the 8th, I know this is kind of confusing. You're paying for a 6-week course, but it's actually going to take 7 weeks, okay? So from the 8th to the 14th, you're not paying a dime for the 8th through the 14th, okay? That is strictly your homework, what you are doing on your own, okay? But by the 15th, that's when the class actually starts, is on Sunday the 15th, okay? And then we'll have in your class, whichever class you get popped into will depend on what day of the week that you have your live call. If you have a particular preference as to day and time, I need to know immediately so that you can email me or put a note or something somewhere. Email me, put it on Facebook, whatever you've got to do. Let me know that, you cannot do anything on Thursdays or you cannot do anything on Fridays. We won't do it on Saturdays or Sundays, but just let me know what day you cannot do it. That way I can actually get you into whatever day of the week is best for you, or that you would be able to do it. So it'll be, as of the 8th, it'll be 7 weeks from there is when we will be graduating, and we'll have I'll be giving you guys certificates, and you'll get this is what I was trying to say. I got sidetracked with the 7-week, 6-week thing. You'll get an objective assessment that shows you what the criteria are for the exam on week 6. So we have an exam on week 6, and so, man, that's really blurry. That's cray. It's not my webcam is not getting it unfuzzy like it's supposed to. Anyway, you get this sheet. You can track the date that you're doing your training session on, and you can track the skills, and you just give yourself points for how well they did it. And I'll teach you guys how to use this and everything. And then throughout the weeks, you're going to see that your score goes up and up and up. And then on the 6th week, on the 6th training week, we'll do an assessment, and I'll do the scoring, and you guys will be able to see exactly how far your dog has come in 6 weeks. It will blow your minds. It will blow your minds that these 12, 13, 14, 15 week old puppies can do this. It will, mind blown, seriously, guys. And it is well worth it because your dogs deserve the best. They really, really deserve the best. So get in there. All the links are in the description of this. If you belong to my email list, if you signed up for the puppy books, look in your email. Check your email before you sign up, okay? I think that's all I had for today. Tomorrow, I will be back at noon. And again, I won't have any kids with me, so we'll be rocking and rolling tomorrow and Friday. And Friday is the last day. Don't forget that, because if you do, you're going to have to wait months in order to get in again, because I just can't keep it open all the time, starting new classes every week or every 2 weeks. It's just not possible for me with my schedule. Okay? So get in now while you can. If you're on my email list, check your email first. Make sure it didn't go to spam. If it went to spam, make sure that you approve me or whitelist my emails from info@pamperedpitbull.com or pamperedpitbullandmama.com. Sorry. I don't even know my own email. So make sure that you whitelist those emails so that you can get all of your discount promo codes. Okay? All right, guys. I will talk to you later. And don't forget, every day's a great day to be a pit bull mama. Bye.